Back for his church. The Bible says in Matthew chapter 24 verse 42, watch therefore, for you do not know the hour your Lord is coming. I want you to know, church, that Jesus Christ could come this month, or he might come next week, or he could even come.
TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel's armed forces have concluded two separate military exercises last night with a declared intention of preparing for an all-out multi-front war. The standoff between Washington and Tehran continues to intensify as the Islamic Republic announces that it has shot down an American military drone, which, according to the regime's Revolutionary Guard, infiltrated Iran's airspace. Despite a growing number of direct attacks at American installations in the Middle East, the United States continues to insist that it is not seeking a military escalation with the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Israeli Air Force concluded a vast military exercise last night designed to simulate an all-out war in multiple theaters of operation. In the course of the exercise, which began on Sunday, the Air Force tested its readiness for war, including against state actors that maintain technologies much more advanced than what is usually dealt with in the region. A source familiar with the details of the exercise described it as a highly efficient operational simulation that portrays the Air Force standards of lethality and professionalism under the guidance of the new IDF Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi. Among others, the Israeli Air Force also simulated a scenario in which Israel was struck by thousands of incoming missiles, forcing it to adapt to extreme operational conditions in efforts to remain fully functional. In addition to the wide array of Israel's aerial vehicles, for the first time in the country's history, the highly advanced F-35s also partook in an exercise which was designed to simulate war during day and night. A senior Israeli Air Force officer told TV7 that the exercise sought to prepare Israel for the next cycle of war. While the Air Force simulated a war in several theaters simultaneously, the main focus remained Israel's northern frontier, where the Islamic Republic of Iran maintains a vast array of military means for the declared purpose of annihilating the Jewish state. Meanwhile, alongside the Israeli Air Force exercise, the IDF concluded a separate multi-corps drill in multiple arenas with a focus on the country's northern frontier. An unspecified number of IDF soldiers and commanders from the Army, Navy, and the Air Force participated in the exercise, which aimed to prepare all of the military branches for an all-out multi-front war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, alongside IDF Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi, attended the last day of the exercise, during which the Israeli leader received an elaborate briefing from the IDF commanders and also took the time to speak to soldiers who participated in the drill.
אני מסיים עכשיו סיור בתרגיל גדול מאוד של צה"ל בכמה זירות, תרגיל רב-זרועי, שאני מתרשם מאוד מהשיפור במוכנות, מרוח הלוחמים והמפקדים, ובעיקר מכוח ההשמדה של צה"ל.
Prime Minister Netanyahu also used the opportunity to warn Israel's enemies from ever considering to target the Jewish state.
אני שומע את השכנים שלנו מצפון, מדרום, ממזרח, מאיימים בהשמדתנו אני אומר לאויבים שלנו, לצה"ל יש כוח השמד גדול מאוד, ואל תנסו אותנו.
Israel's multiple war scenario exercises took place amid growing concerns by the country's intelligence based on an informed assessment in which the Islamic Republic of Iran may launch an attack against Israel in the near future as part of a broader escalation with the United States. Meanwhile, the standoff between Washington and Tehran continues to intensify. The Islamic Republic announced that it has shot down an American military drone, which, according to the regime's Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC, the unmanned aerial vehicle was targeted when it infiltrated Iran's southern Hormozgan province during a reconnaissance mission. According to the IRGC Commander-in-Chief Hossein Salami, the downing of the American drone was a clear message to Tehran's enemies that anyone who violates Iran's sovereignty will be destroyed.
The downing of the American drone was a clear and precise message to America, and the message is this: those who defend the borders of the Islamic nation of Iran will react in a total and decisive way to any intrusions by foreign elements on our lands. Our borders are our red line. An enemy that violates our borders will not return and will be destroyed. The only way our enemies can stay safe is for them to respect the territorial integrity, national interests, and national security of the great Iranian nation.
While the U.S. military denied the report, saying no U.S. aircraft were operating in Iranian airspace today, an American official who spoke to the international London-based news agency Reuters confirmed that a U.S. Navy MQ-4C Triton had been shot down, yet insisted that the unmanned aerial vehicle was targeted in international airspace over the Strait of Hormuz. It is important to mention that the U.S. military has in recent days confirmed an attempt by the Islamic Revolutionary Guards to shoot down a U.S. drone last week, as well as a successful shoot down of one drone on the 6th of June by the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels that operate in Yemen. In addition to the shooting down of the spy vehicle, the Iranian proxy in Yemen claimed responsibility for another attack yesterday in which they fired a cruise missile at a power station in Saudi Arabia's Al-Shukaik city. No additional information was made available regarding this attack, and Saudi authorities did not immediately respond to TV7's request for comment. Meanwhile, in Iraq, a rocket struck a site of a residential and operations headquarters of several global major oil companies, including U.S. giant ExxonMobil, near the country's southern city of Basra. 3 people were reportedly wounded and damage was caused to the facilities. While there was no immediate claim of responsibility, the mayor of the Iraqi town of Zubair laid the blame on Iranian-backed militias.
طبعا لا تخلو هذه الحوادث من يمكن نقول المجريات الإقليمية الحادثة حاليا، وهي الصراع الإيراني الأمريكي. وللأسف هذه الحوادث طبعا وهذه الصراع بدأ طبعا ينزل إلى العراق، وهذا ما كانت تحذر منه الحكومة الاتحادية بأنه يجب أن تكون العراق بمنأى عن هذه الحوادث، ولكن بعض الجهات تستغل هذا الأمور وتحاول بعض الجهات المرتبطة بدول إقليمية تستغل هذه طبعا الموقف وتقوم بإطلاق الصواريخ على الشركات لجنسيات مختلفة وجنسيات محددة قد تكون أمريكية لغرض إعطاء رسائل إقليمية وليست إعطاء رسائل محلية.
Despite the growing number of direct attacks at American installations, the United States continues to insist that it is not seeking a military escalation with the Islamic Republic.
No one should be uncertain about our desire for peace or our readiness to normalize relations, should we reach a comprehensive deal. We have put the possibility of a much brighter future on the table for the Iranian people, and we mean it.
Now back to Tehran, where President Hassan Rouhani is evidently keen on thwarting an apparent shift in Europe's attitude toward Iran. In a speech broadcast on state television, Rouhani underscored that Iran will not negotiate with the United States under pressure, while insisting that his country's decision to revoke some of its commitments under the 2015 nuclear deal was a minimum measure that Tehran could adopt, a year after Washington withdrew from the accord and reimposed sanctions on the Islamic Republic.
What we have done, despite incorrect portrayal of it by some countries, is the minimum set of measures Iran can take. Iran is acting within the agreement, when other parties have either not complied with their obligations or reduced their commitments.
With regard to growing tensions in the strategic Strait of Hormuz, Rouhani emphasized that Iran has historically always protected the area and maintains its natural legitimacy to continue to do so. Meanwhile, in Paris, the top diplomats of France and Germany held a meeting discussing what a French official described to TV7 as growing concerns of an imminent escalation between the United States and Iran. Following their meeting, French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian urged restraint from both Washington and Tehran. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas, who visited the Islamic Republic last week, warned that while diplomatic efforts to alleviate the intensity of the situation contributed to de-escalating the situation, the risk of war has not been averted. Thank you for watching us. Due to TV7's broadcast schedule relating to Midsummer Eve, TV7 Israel News won't broadcast tomorrow night. Nevertheless, Jerusalem studio will broadcast as usual.